Hey guys, welcome back. Robocraft Early Access coverage. This is episode 103. I'm Enigmaus, and today I've got a couple of things for you. We've got two matches that stood out for me because they seemed like they were going in a particular direction, and then the drop of a hat, they just changed direction. And then in the case of the second match that we're going to look at, it does that several times before the match ends. This one won't take very long, which seemed like it would be a bad thing, but it wasn't. While we're kind of watching that, because there's only so much you can talk about in these sorts of matches, I thought I'd talk about something that came up. It's not new news. It's been around for a little while. People have been talking about it since it was announced. The idea of changing the Rapair model, currently in the game, away from an armor-based system to a CPU-based system. So currently, if you're a medic repairing another bot, or you are a bot being repaired by a medic, the amount of repairs that you receive is a function of the armor. So if you've got a block on your bot that's worth, say, 1,000 armor, it takes a certain amount of time to repair it. If you've got a different block on your bot that has, say, 100 armor, it takes 1/10 the time to repair that block as it would the block that has 1,000 armor. The difficulty with that, and what we see demonstrated most eloquently with certain megabots that are kind of making the rounds these days, is that people arrive at the conclusion that electroplates are better than armor blocks, which is not necessarily untrue with the way things are working out. And if you're going to be repaired, this is where things start going badly for me. See, I got flanked, and this guy has quite a high rate of fire. He's chipping away at me pretty good, and I thought, well, it doesn't get any better between now and the end of the match. But I've got a friend down here who kind of ties him up a little bit. I've got one gun left, and I shoot at him and I miss, but I reload quickly with only one gun left. Shoot again, and I clipped him. I clipped him really good, and it hurts, and he fell down. And then I turn around, and there's another guy, and I've got one gun left, and I'm thinking, geez, if I don't get some repairs, I could be in serious trouble. So we're gonna shoot at this guy. I'm not gonna be very useful, but as soon as he gets destroyed, out of nowhere, flip-flop. I can flip all over the place. So while we're watching it flip-flop, talk a little bit more about this healing scenario. We've got megabots that basically build frames for their bot out of tier 0 or glass cubes. And then they attach a bunch of electroplates and they attach their guns and they go into matches. And the line of thinking is that if I've got, say, tier 10 cubes holding my bot together and I get damaged and I lose some of those cubes, when a megabot goes to repair me, it's going to take longer than necessary to repair those cubes, when really what I would rather it be doing is repairing my electroplates and my guns. So if I use all really, really low armor value blocks in order to build out my megabot and then cover it with electroplates and guns, if I take damage to the frame, it's repaired very, very quickly, and then the rest of the repair effort goes to the repairing of my guns and the electroplates right away. So I'm maximizing the efficiency of repairs to electroplates and guns and wheels and all these other components that I would much rather be getting back than cubes. Unfortunately, for the people who get stuck on the teams of these bots when they're poorly built, you lose your megabot in the first 60 seconds of the match because they're basically made out of paper. They've built this bot under the assumption that the only place anyone is ever going to shoot them is on the front. And even still, they don't cover the front of their bot well enough to protect them against damage passing through the electroplates, plasma splash, SMG fire, whatever. The end result is you lose your megabot really early, and then what does he care? He's into another match. He's going to get his TX1 checkpoints, unlock his mega bay, whatever he wants, whatever reason he decided he needed to be a megabot right away for, and the rest of his team is screwed. Before we carry on with that line of thought, that drone is going to chase me. And normally, when I'm in the flying squirrel these days, if a drone comes after me, I just try and ignore them. At the most, I'll try to lead them over to a bunch of friendly guys who can shoot them. And there's a rail cruiser on the ground, friendly rail cruiser, who's taking some shots. But I decided that was going to be far more entertaining than letting the rail cruiser shoot him down. So that was a turning point, I thought, because normally a drone comes after me in flying squirrel and it's game over, but we turned it around and now we're doing some flanking. We'll see how that goes. Back to the healing issue, CPU versus armor. If you're healing based on CPU, now your tier 0 cubes or your glass cubes have the same CPU value as a tier 10 cube. you now have incentive to use tier 10 cubes. They're higher armor and they take just as long to repair as the lower ones. The only excuse you might have now to not use tier 10 cubes is because you're cheap and you don't want to pay for them. I feel ya. I'm trying to save up for what I consider to be a proper viable megabot based on whatever I can build in a regular sized garage bay. It's not cheap. It's not approachable, quite frankly. It's ludicrous, the amount that it would cost to build a properly viable megabot, making use of the CPU that's allotted to you to basically make, get as much survivability as you can with as much offensive punch as you could fit onto the bots, and not take shortcuts like using well below tier cubes because they're cheaper, or not using all of the CPU available to you because you ran out of RP and you don't feel like waiting. Look at it, literally dozens of millions. I was going to say tens of millions, but for the sake of being different, I'm going to call it dozens of millions of RP just to get the basics in a megabot. And I'm pretty vocal about those things based on my opinion. To the overall creativity and the general tier 10 feeling will be changing the repair system from armor-based to CPU-based. Some people are opposed to it. I don't care. I really don't care. The reasons to change it, I think, are far more substantial and far more compelling than the reasons to keep things the way they are. It's just something I've been following the conversation, and for once, trying not to get too heavily involved in it because people are just so polarized. There's not much point. Everyone's going to have their opinion, and everyone ignores everyone else's opinion, and just looks for an opportunity to repeat theirs. I'm interested in having a fun game to play, and if it means challenge, that's fantastic, but if it means stupid, then I like to see changes. And megabots built out of tier 0 and glass cubes is just stupid. So that's why I'm in favor. Now, turning points in matches. This guy's down here capping. I'm not really getting very far with those guys over there. I decided to come over here and do a little bit of support for this guy capping. Maybe if the enemy is going to come back through the cave, as they're starting to do now, I can hold them back a little bit, hopefully, and buy him some time. Starting off good, in a good position, to having a drone chasing us, to shooting down the drone and flanking, to not being effective in the flanking and being chased away, to coming back to protect what looked like a pretty sure thing cap, and it's not a sure thing anymore. There's only so much you can do. It was a very interesting match. I'll give it credit for that much. So that's this episode. It's been a couple days since we had an episode, and I thought these were interesting enough that we could talk about them. And also, the healing thing I thought was interesting as well, since we're talking about an early access game, and the changes will be regular and sweeping from time to time. So we're going to do more Robocraft videos as we have things to discuss and things to demonstrate. So if you want to be notified when I add those videos, you can subscribe to my channel or follow me on social media. Links for social media always in the information section below the video. Please leave your comments and feedback. Thanks for watching, guys, and take care.